guys, what's up? Today I'm back with another storytime video. So I just want to apologize in advance if the background is like really crooked and that bothers you. I'm still trying to work out the kinks of my filming room, and this is just like where we're at today. I feel like I've messed around with it so much trying to make that line straight, and at this point it's just driving me crazy. So I'm just gonna film this video anyway, and I hope that it's not too unaesthetically pleasing. So first I want to start with a disclaimer because a lot of people got upset with one of my last storytime videos about how I accidentally ended up on a date with that old man. People were saying that like I need to be more careful and like stuff like that, and I feel like it's really easy. I think I pointed this out in that video as well. But it's really easy to like look back on a situation or look at someone else telling about a previous situation and judge like all the things that they should have done differently. But it's a different story when you're in that situation and you're just kind of like making the best choices that you can. So that applies to this video too. Although I don't believe the man in this story today is dangerous, I think he's just like really stupid. I do know that like I definitely need to take precautions, and I can see telling the story back what I did wrong. I like acknowledge it. I know that I made mistakes and that he very well could have been a dangerous man, and I need to definitely be more careful. So you really don't need to say that in the comments below, but if you just can't refrain, do what you gotta do. So, okay. So this goes back to when I bought my house. So if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that last September I bought a house. So this kind of goes with that. So this story started in August of last year, August 2018. So I found a house that I liked and talked to my realtor, looked at it, whatever, put in an offer. And when you put in an offer on a house, it's kind of like a contract saying that like if everything goes right, you'll buy it. I don't remember. But I did have to sign a contract, and it said like the potential buyer, me, and then the potential seller, and it had a name that I had never seen before. And I remember thinking like, this has to be this guy's name because like my name is on the other line, so this has to be someone's name. But it wasn't a name that I had ever seen before, so I was like, wonder how you pronounce that. That's a weird name. And so that's how I like recognized the name later, is just because when I read it the first time on that contract, I remember thinking like it was a weird name. The contract obviously was accepted, and then I had to do like an inspection and an appraisal. So once that was all done, we found some things, like my realtor and I found some things that needed to be fixed before I bought the house. That's how it goes. So I found some things that needed to be fixed in the house before I would buy. So I had to write, and like we had to fill out another contract saying that like I will buy the house as long as blah 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 is fixed. I'm giving you 30 days from this date to fix it all because that's the date that I want to close. Do you accept? And then they would sign it saying they accept. They accepted all that, blah blah blah. It was all good. So I was at work and I get a message request, and I immediately noticed the name because it was the same name that was on the papers, and I was just like, yeah, that's that weird name. And he messaged me and he said like, I think you're the person buying my house. If you need anything, let me know. If you want anything fixed, let me know. And I thought that was kind of weird because like that's why we both have realtors, is so like if I need something fixed, my realtor tells his realtor who tells him. That way it's all like written and like legal, and he can't like say he's gonna do something and then not do it. So I kind of thought that was weird because like I had already done the inspection and I had already said what I wanted fixed, and he had already signed that piece of paper. So I was kind of like, what is the point of this message? That's all taken care of. And also like, why'd you look me up anyway? Because it didn't occur to me to look him up. So I kind of thought it was weird, but I was like, whatever. So I told one of my coworkers, I was like, hey, the guy who I'm buying the house from, it just like messaged me on Facebook and said blah blah blah. My coworker was like, oh yeah, that's normal. When I bought my house, the person who was selling it added me on Facebook. So I was like, okay, like maybe it's 2019, like maybe that's what we do. So I was like, it's not weird. So then I decided to Google his name just because like now like it had turned the wheels and whatever. So I Googled his name, and he had been in like a really, really bad motorcycle accident like 10 years ago. And it was like a really intense accident. And I'm not going to give any details of that, obviously, but so I was like blown away. It was like a crazy story. So I told another coworker, I was like, you know how I'm buying this house? Well, the guy who's selling it was in this really bad motorcycle accident. And my coworker was like, is his name? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, how do you know? And he was like, oh my God, he was best friends with my son all through high school. Like they were best friends. And I was like, small freaking world. My coworker was like, hey, text him and tell him that Aaron's dad said that he better leave that house in good condition. So I was like, it was all in good fun. So I messaged the guy and said that, and he was like, oh, you know Aaron? And I was like, no, but I work with his dad. And so that was pretty much the end of that conversation. So I didn't really hear from the guy. I think he messaged me once or twice. I could look, but I'm not going to. Messaged me once or twice saying that like, your name is the only name on the contract. Are you buying this house single? Something about how like that's so good for me, like to be as young as I am and buying a house and blah blah blah. And you know I eat that shit up. So we didn't really talk much. I was just like, yep, I'm buying the house, yep, I'm single, thanks for saying I'm responsible. And like we didn't really talk. It was just like him saying stuff and me saying yeah. So we didn't talk anymore. So the night I moved into my house, well, the day I signed the title and was supposed to move into my house, my car broke down in like the city, which is way far away from where I was living, and nobody could come and help me. So I didn't move that day because I didn't get home until late and I had to go to work. So I had asked my aunt, because she had offered her and her husband's help to help me move into my house, and she said that she was going to help me. So the day that my car broke down, I told her like, hey, I just signed the title, can you help me move today? And then I said, never mind, my car broke down, can you help me move tomorrow? And she said yes. So the next day I got home from work, and it was a Thursday, and I don't work Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. So I got home, packed up all my clothes, everything that could fit in my car, packed up my cat, and then I thought like we would bring my bed and my dresser downstairs and load it up into her boyfriend's pickup truck and then bring it all to my house. And apparently she forgot that her boyfriend has a heart condition, so she couldn't help me move. So I ended up, my car was already packed, the cat was already in it, everything was in it. So I just came to the house, even though I didn't have my bed and my dresser, hoping that eventually I could find someone to move my bed, and I was just gonna sleep on the floor for the first night or whatever until I could figure out how to get my bed here, because there was no sense unpacking my car for one day. So I came here, and my mom had also sent me a package, like a welcome to your new home package, and I assumed that it would like have snacks or like money to get a pizza or like some good stuff in it. So I noticed when I got to the house there was no mail key, and by this time it was already like 6:30, 7 at night. So I didn't really want to call my realtor, because even if he did have the key, I doubt he would bring it here. Or if the other realtor forgot to give it to him, he just wouldn't have been able to do it that night. And I had no money, no food. Well, I had money, but I had no food, like no soap, no toilet paper. Like I didn't have any of like the stuff that you would want to live. And so I really wanted to get my mom's package. So I ended up messaging the guy saying like, hey, just out of curiosity, did you give your mail key to the realtor, because I don't have it and I have a package that I need to pick up today. So he messaged me back and he said, yes, I'm getting my hair cut, I have the mail key, I'm so sorry, I'll bring it to you as soon as I'm done getting my hair cut. So I was like, cool, great, that's fine. So he comes and he brings me the mail key. So I was like, thank you so much. And he was like, oh yeah, like if you need anything, like I've got a truck, I can help you. Do you need help moving stuff? And I was just like, yeah, like I'll let you know, but like I think I'll figure something else out, which I didn't have anything else figured out. So he didn't really talk to me anymore. It really wasn't an issue. And as I started moving things in, well, before I moved things in, I did like a whole deep clean to the house, like wiped down insides, outsides of all the cabinets, pulled out the stove and the fridge, like scrubbed every inch of this house just because like I don't want to live in someone else's house. Like I want to clean it so it's like nice. So as I was cleaning, I realized that he was disgusting. Actually, the night I moved in, I realized he was disgusting because like I said, I didn't have a bed or a table. So I did end up ordering a pizza, and I was sitting on my kitchen floor eating it because I had no chairs. And I start noticing these little teeny tiny black bugs all over the place. Every place has bugs. When he was moving out, he probably had like all the doors open and everything. So I was just like, you know, no big deal. So I started noticing the next like 2 days, just a lot of those bugs, like hundreds of those little bugs. So finally I Googled, what do baby roaches look like? And yes, all those little bugs were those little cockroaches because he, the man who owned the house before, doesn't know how to clean. So in the coming weeks, I realized there was like an infestation, had to call a pest control person to get rid of them. And then also in that time period is when I was like doing the deep clean, and I was just noticing food everywhere. Like when I pulled out the stove, hundreds of bugs, dead bugs, but hundreds of bugs under there. When I pulled out the fridge, there wasn't as many, but there was just like so many bugs. Like the cabinets, it was just like dead cockroaches everywhere. So I was disgusted. I was already like done with this dude. I was like, you're gross, okay? Can't do it. Maybe, but no. Like I can't live with someone who's disgusting. I just can't. And also it was like kind of infuriating, like having to spend all this money on pest control and spend all this time that I should have been organizing my shit, trying to clean up because you lived disgustingly. He started messaging me, offering his help, offering his truck to help me unpack. He had added me as a friend on Facebook, and I had accepted it because I really didn't see the harm in it at that point. So I had posted about how I really needed my bed. So he was like trying to help me, and I just wasn't interested. So sometimes I would answer, sometimes I wouldn't. I never took him up on his help. One morning I was like online because I used to work really early in the morning, so like just naturally I would get up at like 4:30, just even on the weekends, like 4 a.m. I was just like ready to start my day. So he had seen that I was online and messaged me, and I don't know if I was in a good mood, you know, like I don't really need to make excuses for why I messaged him back. That's my own business, I guess. So he was like, what are you doing up? And I kind of like forgot that it wasn't normal for people to be up at 4:30. Like that's my normal, so I forget that that's other people's middle of the night. So he was like, what are you doing up? And I was just like, this is what time I get up, like I'm always up. And then he was like, well, what are you doing? We were just like making small talk. I really didn't see an issue with it. So then he texts me and says, can I come see you? And by this time it was like 7 a.m. It wasn't 4 still. And I said no, like I don't know, like there's no reason for you to come see me. Like, and come see me is like a phrase that like my ex would use. Like he would miss me, he would be driving through the area, can I come see you? Because like we know each other and he wants to see me for a second. When you've never really met someone other than the interaction in my driveway where he gave me the mail key, come see you is like an odd term or like a booty call term. So I said no. And he said, please, I miss you. And then I was like, I don't know you. Like, you can't miss me. You don't know me. So then I was like, okay, he's delusional. No. So he shows up at my door. I said no. Literally, I did. So he shows up and he's like, please answer the door. I just want to give you a hug. No. But I felt weird because he was like standing at the door and like he knew I was inside. I said I was inside. My car was like in the driveway. So like I thought it would be weird to just be like, no, I said no. I guess it wouldn't have been weird. Like I said no, if you come all the way here, that's your own deal. But I like felt bad. So I answered the door and he like gives me a hug. And when he gives me a hug, he fucking has a boner. Ew. Like what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, that is a level of disrespect that I have never seen anyone have before. Like, maybe because it was, like, early in the morning, it was a booty call and I didn't get the signs, but, like, I said no, and then you're gonna hug me with a fucking hard on? Like, I was just like, ew, like, what a disgusting excuse for a human being. I can't. So, he leaves, never messaging him back. He's disgusting. Oh, and mind you, while he's at the door, he says, do you have any food? I'm not gonna feed you. I didn't have food anyway, so I said no. And, so that was that. I was like, I'm done answering him. He messaged me like 15 times that day. What are you doing? Hey, miss you. Hey, can't wait to see you again. Hey, you're great. Hey, I would love to date someone like you. And I ignored them all. So a couple weeks later, he messages me. And by the way, he had been messaging me like every day of those couple of weeks. I just wasn't answering. So this day he messages me and says, I have a 60-inch flat screen TV, a table and 5 chairs, a knife set, and I think there was something else, but I don't remember. And he said, I don't want it. My mom doesn't want it. I'm willing to give it to you for free. And your girl can't pass up free stuff, okay? I can't. It's just who I am. Can't. And also, I don't need another TV, but offer up, you know, your girl's gonna sell it, okay? So I didn't want him to like come at me with another boner hug or whatever. So I was like, okay. So I talked to my friend. I was like, hey, can you come over when this guy comes to drop off all this free stuff so that he doesn't like hug me? Like, you just like, you know, cock block or whatever. And she was like, I'm busy. My husband will go do it though. And I was like, all right, cool. So I sat down and I just like had my like head in my hands or whatever. And it was so funny. So he this guy pulls up in his truck, and my friend's husband gets out, like comes out of my garage and was like, hey dude. And the guy just like instantly gets pissed off. He like unloaded everything and was like slamming it down. He like looked at me and he's like, what, you sick? Because I was like, and I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, I think he said, guess I won't hug you or something, but I was just like, bye. So he like stood there for a minute as if I was gonna invite him in, or like wondering what the other guy was doing there. I don't know, like it was a really awkward, confusing, yet funny situation. So finally he gets into his truck, like he was not happy. So 20 seconds later, I checked my Facebook just to check. He had already unfriended me. Like in the time between he got in the car and like skirted down the street, he unfriended me on Facebook. Like he was that mad. So obviously I was like, you know, it's good. Like I wanted some free shit. You were disgusting and disrespectful when you came here for a hug. So like, I don't really care if you are like mad. Messages me like a week later, hey, just wanted to check in, and like once or twice a week for the next like month. Just wanted to check in. Hope you're okay. Why aren't you answering me? I never did anything to you. Maybe I'll include screen grabs here. We'll see. I never did anything to you. Why are you so mad at me? And I just thought it was so funny that he wouldn't let it go. Like a girl that he doesn't know, has seen in person 3 times for like moments, like, and he unfriended me. Like he was so mad that my friend's husband was there. He unfriended me. So like, why are you still trying to talk to me if you were so mad that you had to like unfriend me or whatever? So he had kept messaging me at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. And it really started to creep me out because I would get home from like work around 5, depending, well, anywhere from like 4 to 6, because sometimes I would go to the gym, sometimes I would like stop and grab groceries or whatever. So one day I had just pulled in my driveway, like maybe 5 minutes before this. He had sent me like a message saying that like, hey, I know you just got home from work, you're hungry, you're stressed, let me take you out to dinner. And while it could have been a coincidence because most people get out of work around 5:30, the fact that he had sent it so shortly after I had actually gotten home, and again, I didn't park in the driveway at this time, I didn't park in the garage, I did park in the driveway, so he could easily see whether or not I was home. It just like freaked me out because I was like, is he driving by And he sent me another message that I don't remember right now, and I film on my phone so I can't look it up right now, but he sent me another message. Oh, it was, normally I would work Fridays because those were overtime days, but this time they didn't offer us any overtime, so I was home. He had messaged me at like 9 a.m. on a Friday and said, hey, I know you're home, let's go for breakfast. So I was starting to get really scared because although the first one may have been a coincidence, this, like, most people are at work at 9 a.m. on a Friday. So I was like kind of sure that he had been driving by my house to check and see if I was home, and I was just getting like really scared, and my motion detector light in my backyard was like going off sometimes, and I was just getting really creeped out. And I should have done something about it, or said something, or told him to stop. I definitely accept my fault there. Like, I know I definitely should have done something, but I didn't. I didn't want to be freaked out anymore, and I wanted to avoid the confrontation of like telling him to stop or whatever. So my response was to just turn the notifications off. So the messages went into a like message request folder or something, but I wasn't getting the notifications, nor could I see them when I opened up Facebook Messenger. So I didn't even really know he was messaging me anymore. Like, I would check every once in a while and then be like, holy shit, he's still doing it. So one day, my grandparents were in the area and they were leaving soon. This was March of this year, I believe. So I went to see them for dinner because they asked me to come for dinner, so I did. So I get a notification because I have a Ring doorbell that someone was at my front door, and I was like, I don't think I ordered anything. Who's at my front door? So I check. It's this freaking guy. And I was like, what the hell? So I was like shook. And so I go into my messages to see if he messaged me. He had messaged me that morning at like 9 and said, we're going on a date at 5. Be ready, wear something nice. I haven't talked to this guy at that point in 6 months. He had been messaging with no answer, and then he just tells me that we're going for a date and I need to wear something nice. Like, at this point, I was like, he's dumb. So I ignored it. So there was other like, I don't know, the wind blows sometimes and it sets off my doorbell. So I don't check it every time. So later that day, he comes back. I'm still not home, by the way. Messages me and says, if you're wondering who left the ceiling fan, it was me. And then I get confused because I'm like, it's 2019. Do you really not know what a video doorbell looks like? Have you really not seen one? Do you really not know that I saw you come and drop off that ceiling fan and everything else? Blows my mind. So I was like, I thought it was crazy that he showed up. Like, well, I kind of forgot about it. He was still messaging me, but again, I wasn't really seeing it because it wasn't I didn't get the notification. So maybe 2 weeks later, I go and I'm getting ready to head out to the gym. It was like 9 p.m. and I was literally putting on my shoes, you guys. And I hear someone walking up to my front door and I was like, what the hell? It's 9 p.m. And thank God I wasn't like walking out the front door, okay? But I wasn't. So I get a notification on my phone, like someone's at your front door, and I hear him knocking. And so I was just like, what the fuck? So I look out the peephole. It's him. What is going on? So I was like freaking out, and he wouldn't leave because at this point I wasn't parking in the garage. I do now. He could tell I was home, so he wouldn't leave. I think he was at the door for like 7 minutes, just like knocking and then waiting. And I was like so freaked out. So he left, and I called a couple of my friends, and I was like, you know, I don't know what to do. Like, at first I thought this was funny, but now like this is now the 3rd time he's shown up to my door. I don't message him back. Haven't, at this point it had been 6 months because it was like April now. I hadn't messaged him back, and I was just like, you know, he's not getting the hint. Like, so someone was like, well, you should call the cops. And while I agree with that fact, he hadn't really done anything wrong other than just being so dumb. So I decided to like warn him, like, if you come to my house again, I will be calling the cops. Don't do it. Don't test me. So I messaged him and I said, if you come to my door again, I will call the cops. And he said, wow, I didn't see a problem. I didn't know that there was a problem with me coming to your door. Without asking me first? Like, you didn't think that that was a problem? You didn't think that that was like, that I wouldn't want that because I don't answer you back? And then he messaged me back and he said, what else was I supposed to do? You don't answer my messages. Like, you're supposed to take the hint that I'm not answering your messages, so that means I don't want you to come to my front fucking door? Like, I don't understand. So then he messages me again, guess I'll take the hint. Like, no, the hint was me not answering your messages or the door for 6 months. This is no longer a hint. This is me flat out telling you that if you don't stop coming to my house and messaging me, I will call the cops. Like, that's no longer a hint. You missed the hint. This is me threatening you. Now you're getting it. So, I just couldn't believe that he was that, like, dumb and, like, disrespectful and just, like, ugh. I couldn't. So, he never messaged me again. So, he's obviously not, like, a threat. He's just so dumb that he doesn't understand normal social cues. I did decide to Google his name a couple days later, maybe. And he has been arrested for a DUI 4 times. So one might argue he's not dumb. He's just been drunk this whole time, and that's why he didn't understand. I don't know. And the other thing was, he was in prison for a year, like shortly before he sold the house. That's probably why he sold the house, because he got out of prison. He was like, I have no money. I don't know. So I was just in disbelief that he'd been in jail so many times. So then one day, I'm sitting on the couch doing my thing, and there is a very loud knock at the front door. So I look at my video doorbell camera on my phone, and nobody's out there. And I was like, that's weird. So I watched the video because I can click like live view and it'll show me like who's out there now, but it also records videos of like when it first saw the motion. So I go back and look at when it first saw the motion, and it's 3 sheriffs that were now hiding behind a pillar that I have right outside my front door. So I was like, what could they be doing here? And so I kind of thought that maybe I had got another like red light ticket, but I hadn't. So I answered the door, and I was like, can I help you? And they were like, we're looking for blah, blah, blah. And I was like, he doesn't live here. And they were like, okay, it says that he lives here on the papers. And I was like, well, he did, but I bought this house in September. And he was like, the main sheriff guy was like, okay, well, like, so you live here alone? And he like didn't believe me. And I was like, yes. And he's like, you live here, nobody else lives here but you. And I was like, correct. And he was like, I don't fucking believe you, lady. So then, because the guy had invited me over, like I had gone back and read all the messages that he sent me, and he had invited me to his house a couple different times. So I had the address, and they were looking for him because he got another DUI shortly after I bought the house, and then he went to jail, but his boss had bailed him out. So, and then he had a court date, because that's how that works, and he never went. So they were like looking for him to put him back in jail because he didn't go to his court date. So I was nice enough to give them the address that he had given me, and they went and arrested him. So that's really the end of that story. So thank you guys so much for listening to my story time. Please don't give me too much hate. I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already, it would mean so much to me. And if you liked this story time or thought it was funny or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. It really would help me out. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!
I'm sorry. sorry, I just burped, and that was like so gross.